Tit. Mammals have tits. You can look it up in the dictionary. Titillating is in the dictionary. But titty, well, titty is supposed to be a little bit, I sat up, I paid attention. I am surprised at the judgment. I'm surprised and intrigued. Titty Talks is kind of what happens when you get a bunch of women together. And I sort of, everyone had a friend. Everyone has a story. And the goal, or my dream, my ambition for this show, is that we all kind of leave here at the end with a little bit more understanding of the person next to us, a little bit more compassion, a little bit more what's going on, because we all have a story. Everyone has a story. A lot of people have said it's the vagina monologues. I was up on this stage about 4 years ago. I was the angry vagina. And there were no positive birth stories in the vagina monologues. And I have had 3 home births. I was a doula, and let me tell you, I have seen some blooming, beautiful, fabulous, powerful vaginas in my life. But this story is about the breasts, not. Actually, it's a story of women and the stories that make us women. And we have been gifted with stories from women that are in their 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s. And it's just been incredibly powerful, the journey, the transformation, and the healing that took place. And it's World AIDS Day. Today, December the 1st. Was it in the media much? Good. Good. I've been really busy. The Citizen did call today. But I sent out about 40 press releases, and the Stephen Lewis Foundation called me before the press. So, it's World AIDS Day, and AIDS is the #1 killer of women in the world. Women of childbearing years, women like me, and it still goes on. So, I'd like to have Care Canada talk a little bit about their program. We're sharing this event between the Wakefield Grannies and Care Canada. Care Canada is an incredible organization. Some of you may have seen me asking you for money last year for Walk in Her Shoes, where I wore a pedometer and walked a certain amount every day to honor the girls that don't get to go to school because they're walking to get water. And there's been studies done that if you have a village with water, you actually have less women and babies die in childbirth than in the hospital. And the reason this became HIV fundraiser for me was this project's been in my mind for about at least 7 years. And it was watching a documentary about 5 years ago, made by Rooney Productions. And first, there was a grandmother speaking of the death of her child. She's now caring for her grandchild, but she's talking about her child that died. And she's unaware, but she's touching her breasts. And she's feeling. As a mother who nursed for about 9 years, I was pregnant or nursing, I felt her pain. And then I watched a second documentary by Rooney's called Condoms, Fish, and Circus Tricks. And did you know in Africa, one of the ways they track HIV is actually at the maternity ward? So let's think about that for a second. You're giving birth to a live human being, and we're going to check if there's AIDS. And then let's go a little wider, because we just talked about what water can do. And let's think how many women in sub-Saharan Africa are actually giving birth in a hospital. And I'm not saying they should be giving birth in a hospital. I'm just saying that's, I can't swear. Well, maybe I will later. Anyway, thank you for coming tonight. And thank all the women that contributed their time and their energy to this process.